Hello, and welcome to Shrink, the podcast for the mind. I'm Philippe, and I talk to the people who want to have a better understanding of their issues with weight and body image. So you've been eating more mindfully, more intuitively, you're losing weight, or you've reached maybe your ideal weight, and something happens in your life. And there you go back to what used to be your comfort zone. And that comfort zone is overeating and compensating the difficulties in your life by overeating and sometimes drinking. It can be due to the loss of someone or the end of a relationship, financial issues. There's so many things that happen in one's life, and some people will find certain ways to deal with that, to manage that, and others, their way to deal with that will be by overeating, which is not satisfying, of course, as somehow it will also diminish their self-confidence, and they will feel bad about themselves. But these things happen, and we know that. But today, that's not what I want to talk about. I want to talk about the setbacks that someone has sometimes, and these setbacks have more unconscious reasons. So again, you feel like you're in a good place, and because you've lost the weight or you're losing it, and you think you're all good with your new way of eating, your new eating habits, but without sometimes even noticing it, it starts changing again and getting back to a way that you had before, a way of eating that you knew before. And you don't really understand what's going on. You think, what's wrong with me? I'm so weak. I cannot stick to these things. It took me quite a few weeks or a few months to learn and to become mine. And here am I. I overeat again. I eat chocolate 10 times a day. I snack all the time, or whatever. Or I finish the pan, although I'm not hungry anymore. You blame yourself, but what you don't understand is that, or what you don't know, is that there are unconscious reasons which are pushing you to start overeating again. And that's really what I want to analyze a bit more in detail in this podcast episode. Being overweight is not just a number on your scale. Being overweight is almost a lifestyle. It's almost a way of being with others. It's a way of being in the different systems that we live in. And when I say systems, I mean the different social groups that we belong to. There is you at work, you at school, you at home with your family, you at home with your partner, if you've got one, you going out and going to bars or going to gigs. And so these are all the systems that we live in. And somehow your weight or your body image, or both, will dictate the place that you have in these different systems. So let's take one of them, for example, you at work. Well, it could really be that you at work, you're not seen as a threat, you're not seen as a competition, because you're overweight, because somehow you're kind of discreet, and maybe you've been like that since you were at school or at college. So others appreciate you eventually. You're that person who's often smiling, hiding behind your kilos. And once you start losing that weight, or when you've lost that weight, they start seeing another version of you, one which is more confident, one which who dresses differently. Sometimes, in a smarter way or more in a sexier way, whatever. It's your whole image is going to be different, or maybe different. And this can be challenging for others. So they could suddenly see you very differently, and it's something that can be challenging for them, because you could be a competition. You could somehow, because you're shining more, because you're more out there, it's challenging for them. Not always. These things that I'm describing in this episode, it's not the case for everyone, and it's not the case with everybody who's around you, of course. And most of the time, it will be your perception of things. You will think, oh, he or she doesn't like me that much anymore since I'm slimmer. So, it's not always the case, of course, but it's more the idea that you have of how the others are perceiving you and how somehow they may not like you that much anymore, or they may be more distant with you. And when I say that you could become a competition somehow in the work environment, because until then, because you were kind of shy or not really, showing off out there, you didn't really go for a better place in that company that you work in, or you didn't even dare managing that shop that you work in, or being the restaurant manager, that maybe you really deserve to be, but you thought, well, I'm not fit enough for that. That's look at me. I don't belong there. I don't belong at that place. So that's scary because others see you differently, you feel different, and the environment around you can feel like more of a threat, let's say. It can also be that one of your colleagues will start flirting with you, which never happened before. In fact, maybe they did it before, but you didn't even notice it because you didn't think you were worth being flirted. I don't know if that's what you say, flirted with, let's say. And now you're noticing it. And how are you going to deal with that? That's difficult. You're not equipped for that. You never had to deal with that before. So for all these reasons, you could start feeling really uncomfortable or almost insecure. And without even noticing it, start eating again. Because although you hated yourself with this extra weight, at least you were in a safe place. Again, this is very unconscious. I don't know anyone who said, no, I'm too scared. I'm going to eat again and put the weight back on. Of course not. It's things that we do unconsciously. Once you understand what you're doing, what's happening, and you understand why you're sabotaging your weight loss, then you can address things differently. You can think, okay, it's challenging. I don't know how to deal with that exactly, but I'm going to learn. I'm going to fail sometimes, but anyway, I'm not taking any big risk here. It feels uncomfortable. I feel insecure in some cases. But I want to move ahead. I don't want to stay where I am now, and I don't want to get back to where I was before. Our friends is another system that we experience or another system that we live in. And as it was the case in the work environment, losing weight amongst your friends is sometimes challenging. Even though your friends will compliment you, again, like your colleagues did in my previous example, they were used to you being overweight. They were kind of feeling sorry for you even sometimes. And you were not a threat. You were not the one who was gonna steal their boyfriend or their girlfriend or their husband or wife. You were the good friend, the smiling one again, and now things are changing. You dress differently, you move differently. I insist on that because I really want to describe how losing weight can change your whole persona and how challenging it can be. It's not just kilos, on the scale. It's much more than that. So your friends will be happy for you, most of them. But then for some of them, it will be challenging also because they are overweight. And so there was something comforting. It was not just them being overweight, you were as well. And you could, it somehow created a bond between you. You could speak about that dessert that you shouldn't have eaten. You could speak about that dress that you would wish to wear, but you couldn't. It was really a bond between you, and somehow they could feel left out because you're not having that bond anymore. You don't need that anymore. And so they could feel like you're not that close to them anymore. But even if you are, in fact, close to them, but that bond has changed. And it can be challenging for you as it is for them. again, we value our friendships, so we don't want to lose our friends. And when they react in a certain way, we feel like we're losing something very important in our life. And it's, of course, not a nice feeling. And then unconsciously, again, we could be tempted to get back to our previous persona. It can happen that one of your friends suddenly starts being attracted by you, physically, and then even, emotionally, in a romantic way, let's say. And it's not easy to deal with that because that's not what you want. Well, if it's what you want, that's great. But if it's not, it's like they see you in a way which you never imagined they would see you. So like in the work environment, again, it can be that by losing weight, it will create some kind of competition between you and your friends. Some of them will feel insecure. Some of them will feel like you're abandoning them and you're not that close anymore. I mean, it's a whole lot of stuff to manage. The idea with your friends is to put words on things, is to explain things, is to express how you feel about things. If you feel uncomfortable, if you feel insecure, if you feel like they're not that close anymore, or if they complain about you acting in a weird way. Sometimes they will describe things like that because they cannot find other words. They will say, yeah, but you've changed, you're weird now, you're not like you used to be. Speak to them. You've got words, you've got your mind, you've got your intelligence, explain things. I remember when I was overweight, I had 30 kilos more at some point in my life. I always was seen and acting as the jolly one, the one who was always joking, and the one who was always happy and enthusiastic and stuff like that. Until through therapy and through all the things that I've read and that I've learned as well, I discovered that I didn't have to be that way anymore. I could be more authentic. And I know that at first my friends were questioning me, saying, "What's going on with you? Are you okay? You don't seem to have fun anymore, or you're not like you used to be. Is there anything wrong?" And I was telling them, "No, I think there was something wrong before, because I felt like my place around you and others was the one of that happy guy, jolly guy who had to entertain everyone, which was so tiring." And then I became, like I said, more authentic, and it was a change for them, and for me, of course, but for them it was somehow, they didn't get it at first. So I explained things. I told them, well, I've worked on this. I've been on therapy. I've thought about it a lot. I've read a lot of things about all this, and what you're seeing now is the real me, almost. And they understood. And, they're still my friends, all of them, and we love each other. But if I wouldn't explain what was going on, I'm not sure things will have gone that way. So again, open up, explain things without justifying yourself. You don't have to justify yourself. You don't have to go through, explaining every detail of why you've put on weight and what it meant for you. And, that belongs to you. But you can somehow find a way to explain things so that you're okay with them and they're okay with you. Another system is the one that we have with a person that we are in a relationship with. So a girlfriend, boyfriend, wife, husband, partner, whatever. And here it can be a bit of a trickier scenario, a bit of a more difficult situation to deal with. I mentioned in a previous podcast episode the kilos of abstinence. So it's the kilos that we will put on unconsciously in order not to be tempted to have any relationship with anyone else. Making sure we're not attractive, making sure nobody's going to flirt with us. And so this extra weight will put us in a safe place concerning our relationship. There is no way I will ever have an affair if I'm overweight the way I am. So what happens in that case? Well, it depends. If you're happy with your relationship, um, and if you value your relationship, you could decide, I'm not going to put it at risk by having an affair, or I'm not going to play these games because I really cherish what I have with that person that I'm with. If you're not that happy with that person anymore, then it's up to you. Then, either you both you start a therapy, a couples therapy, or if you think it's not even worth it, you go away, you leave that person, you end the relationship. I know it's not that easy. I make it sound like if it was easy, and I know it's not. And sometimes this extra weight will be there to protect us from these thoughts, so we don't even have to think about it. It's like the cement of our relationship is my extra weight. And you will agree with me that that's not ideal. You shouldn't sabotage your weight loss or start eating in a way which is unhealthy again just because you're too scared to tackle these issues in your relationship. It's tough, but if you start eating again and putting the weight back on, you're just delaying it, in fact, because at some point it's not gonna work, and you're gonna have to face this thing. So be brave. Another system that is a big one, in fact, is our family, and well, there are different scenarios here. Let's say if one of your parents, or your sister or your brother, is overweight. Like in the other systems, they may feel like you're abandoning them. You're not close to them anymore. In some families, being fat, being overweight, is part of the trademark of the family. And it's difficult to leave aside that trademark. It's really difficult. And so again, it will be about explaining them that you love them, that they're your family, but it's your own thing. They don't have to go that way if they don't want to, but you want to be healthier. Maybe it will inspire them, if they need to lose weight, to go in the same way, to do the same thing. But you don't have to take them along. It's your own thing, and it doesn't work. In fact, if you want to tell them, come on, let's do that together. You're my sister, or you're my brother, whatever. Let's do this together. We will feel better. And no, you cannot embark them on that journey. It's your own journey, really. It's a great one, but it's challenging enough. If it's, by just being your own journey, you don't want to be responsible for anyone else. And it simply doesn't work. So forget about it. And then there is a last system that I would like to mention, although usually it's not described as a system, but it's you with yourself. How do you feel being slimmer, having lost the weight you wanted to lose, or getting there? How do you feel when you look at yourself in the mirror? How do you feel when you put the clothes that you used to wear a year or 10 years before, or the new clothes that you've bought along the way? How does it feel? Do you feel good? Well, most people do, but not everyone does. Sometimes some people think they will look older since they've lost the weight. They say, well, their face was rounder before, and suddenly you see more their wrinkles, or you see details that they didn't think of before that. In fact, they're not really ready to feel good about themselves. So whatever weight loss they achieve, it will never be good enough. And they will start focusing on their skin, which is not that good anymore, on their wrinkles, or whatever. And it's disappointing because they've been struggling to get there, and they're still not happy with the results. So they will sometimes think, oh, whatever, I'm going to eat anyway. Well, they won't say it, that way to themselves, but they will not enjoy the results. So slowly but surely, they will start eating again, because at least there was something comforting about that. And they knew exactly what they could complain about, because they've been complaining about it for years and years.